Hello and welcome back. In this video I'm going to explain how the telemetry system works with the DX9 radio and the receiver. So I hope to show first off how you connect and bind the telemetry module, how the telemetry sensors work, and how to program the DX9 transmitter to use it to display the telemetry information. And also I'm going to use one of the servos that we're going to use in the airplane. It's the high-tech HS5625 metal gear, and I'll show you what comes with that and what the just basically what's in the box that comes with the servo. In a future video, I'm sorry, the two sensors that I'm going to use is voltage and temperature with the telemetry module. And in a future video I'll show how a GPS sensor is used with the telemetry module. GPS obviously will give you quite a bit more information, altitude, airspeed, heading, and latitude, longitude, all kinds of stuff. But that'll be for a future video. So in this video we're going to talk about just getting the initial telemetry set up. So I've got my power, the 5-volt 5-cell battery with the switch attached. I've got my AR6210 receiver. I got my telemetry module, the TM1000, the things that come with that, the wires and the sensors that come with that. And I also have a special sensor that you have to buy separately, which is the it's a wire that allows you to check the voltage of the battery pack as it goes into the receiver, and so that's the extra module for that, extra wire for that. And so first off, let me go ahead and tell you how the telemetry module and the receiver are connected. The telemetry module has over here on this side a data port, and the receiver over on this side has what's called a bind data port. And so that's the port we used when we bound the receiver to the transmitter. And so this little wire comes with the TM1000 telemetry module, and this is what connects the two modules together. So I'm going to take this little white wire connector and plug it into the data port. Now that is a directional connector, so it's now connected into the bottom of the TM1000, and it's in the data port. And we're going to take the other end, which has a proper connector to put it into the bind data port of the receiver. And again, you got a black wire on it, and the black wire goes to the bottom, and we're going to plug that in. Okay, so those two things are now connected. And for the telemetry module and the transmitter, to know that the telemetry module is there, you have to rebind. The bind we did before was just a test that with nothing else attached to it, that the receiver was working and it worked properly. Now we're going to have to rebind this, and in order to do that, the telemetry module has a little word there that says bind, and on the side of it there's a tiny little button tiny little button right there, and I'll use this. That tiny little button requires this little push pointer thing that comes with the telemetry module, and so we use that to push when we want to go into bind mode, because you can't put the standard bind plug in anymore. So you have a little button there to push when you want to be in bind mode. So we'll do that. Next that I want to do is the telemetry module comes with a Y harness. Okay, and this Y harness is for the voltage and temperature sensors. The Y harness goes into the temperature and voltage sensor right next to the data port. Okay, and you got to make sure they're pushed in all the way, and basically you got a Y harness there. And this is the temperature sensor. It's got the little plug to plug in, and this is the temperature sensor on the other end. You're going to wrap this around the head of the glow engine, and it'll tell you the temperature. So that goes in one side of the Y harness. Again, these are directional, so you got to look and make sure you're plugging it in the right direction. Okay, so that one's in. And then this wire here that's going to measure the voltage goes in the other side of the Y harness. And the wires are long enough to should be long enough to reach the cylinder head, and this wire should be long enough to reach where the receiver goes. So now that that's set up, I want to explain the what's in a servo. So this servo is a metal gear servo, and so it comes with a metal, it's aluminum, I guess, anodized aluminum maybe, but it's a metal servo arm in case you want to have a extra strong all metal servo. And it comes with a package of servo arms and stuff, and we'll talk about servo arms in another video. It comes with the servo. It already has a round servo arm on it, and we'll just take that out of the package and don't need that anymore. Comes with a set of instructions and comes with some decals if you want to put decals somewhere. The servo, as a part of this bind process, I'm going to use to validate that everything is bound together and that the servo actually works. Okay, so I'm going to plug the servo into the throttle channel of the receiver, and get the black wire on the bottom side here. So now when we get it all bound up, we'll know that everything's working, because we'll move the throttle and get the response from the servo. Okay, so I think we're don't need any of the servo arms. I'll put that back, and I think we're ready to start the binding process. Okay. So the binding process, I always make sure I turn on my radio and make sure that I'm on the right model. So it's model number 26, Kadet LT-40. So that's correct. So I'm going to turn that off. So just like in any bind process, you start with the transmitter off. Now, in order to have the TM1000 and this little plunger doohickey and push this in and bind and turn the switch on all on at the same time. Oh, by the way, I didn't do one other thing. I need the on-off switch from the battery, and the on-off switch, the on side of the switch, is going to go into the receiver, and I'm just going to put that in the gear channel again. Gear channel is what we're going to use because this airplane doesn't have a retractable gear. Notice that in the test we did before, we put the battery into the bind port. Well, the bind port's taken. Every other port is taken but the gear channel. So the gear channel will be the channel where the battery is connected into. Alright, so now I got to flip the switch while holding two things, and the only way to do that I can come up with is a bench vise. So I'm going to attach this bench vise to the table here. I'm going to move the camera, pardon me a minute while I move the camera a little closer. I might even zoom in a little bit. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay. That may be a little too far in. Let me zoom out just a little. Okay. So, tighten the bench vise up. Okay. Okay, bench vise is nice and tight. So what I'm going to do is, I got the on-off switch, and it's in the off position, and I'm going to mount that on-off switch into the bench vise. Okay, just tighten that up enough so it won't move, not crush it. Okay, so that when I'm ready, I can take my pinky finger and push the on-off button to the on position, while at the same time I'm holding this and the TM1000. So I'm going to push it in, do that and that. Okay. So I think I'm ready. Got my battery. It's connected. Got the on side of the switch in the gear channel. And I got the two sensors. Oops, I forgot, I did that wrong. That's why you validate. Okay, I shouldn't plug the on side of the switch directly into the gear channel. I should plug it into this sensor first. Okay, so I'm going to plug that into the sensor that I showed you. Okay, and that's black to black, and then the other end of this needs to go into the gear channel. Okay. Okay. So now the sensor for the voltage will, when I turn it on, the voltage will be going through this sensor, and then the voltage will also start up the receiver. Okay, and then we have our servo there, and I think we're ready. Okay, and so let me pull up the TM1000, get my pinky finger ready. Okay, and so I'm going to press the side with this, and then turn on the receiver with my pinky finger. So press, turn on. Nope, didn't do that right. I'm not flashing. I'm going to turn it off. I probably didn't press hard enough. I'm going to press harder and turn it on. Okay, now it's flashing. Okay, and I'm going to grab my transmitter, hold the bind button down, get away from it a little further, and turn it on.
Binding. DSL DSMX 22 milliseconds. Bind complete.
Okay, I'm going to turn the switch off. It did not say telemetry. So when it does it, it should say, oh, it's a telemetry module there too. So I'm going to make sure that everything is plugged in good and tight. We'll try it again. So I should hear it say binding DSMX telemetry. So we'll try it a second time. Okay. So I'm going to press. Transmitter is off. Battery is off. I'm going to press this. And hit the switch. And everybody is flashing. I'm going to get away a little further and turn it on.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Bind complete.
Still didn't say telemetry. So I'm going to turn this all off again. I'm going to turn the camera off for a second and then come back when I figure out if there's something else that I've done wrong. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I'm back, and I got it to work off camera, and what I did was I took out all the telemetry stuff and the servo. I took the telemetry wires out of the TM1000. I took the servo out of the receiver, and it seemed to work. So I'm going to try it again here and see if second time is a charm or third time is a charm here. So I got my pointer, transmitter is off, and I'm going to hold the telemetry module and get my pinky finger ready, and I'm going to press and turn on, and everybody is flashing. I'm going to bind, hold the bind button down.
Binding. Bind failed.
Okay, that didn't work. We're going to try it one more time. I've had this bind fail a couple of times. I think it's just a matter of where you are and how close you are. So I'm going to move a little further away this time. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay. One is flashing, but the other is not flashing. So I'm going to not even try that one. So let's do that again. So I'm going to hold the bind button. Okay, everybody's flashing. Going to get further away, hold the bind button, and turn on.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Telemetry. Bind complete.
Okay, that one worked, and I think the problem is that the transmitter is too close to the receiver and telemetry module. You have to be, I think, maybe at least 2 feet away. You can't be right next to it, and so I think that's probably the problem there. I've read about that. I've read the website at Horizon Hobby, and that's what it recommends, is get at least 2 feet away, and then things should work fine. So that worked, and I'm going to turn the receiver off. Now that I've got that, I can take the switch out of the vise, take the vise away, and next what I'm going to do is show you how to, let me turn the camera back around. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is show you how to program the DX9 to use the modules that we're going to use. Okay, So I'm going to hit the roller button and go into scroll down until I get to where it says telemetry. Press that and you see there's 12 menu items there. So in menu item 1 it says empty. I'm going to scroll over to it and select volts. Okay, and then it allows me to set alarms and set the minimum voltage. So I'm going to come down and set the minimum voltage. Instead of being 4.3, I want it to be 5. There's 5 cells. If each cell was 1 volt instead of 1.2 nominal, then it's time to recharge. Okay, and then the alarm is I want it to tell me. I want a voice alarm. And then the other interesting thing, just for grins, we can give a status report. Okay, and in the status
pack, no data.
In the status report, I can have it report.
Flight pack, no data.
Yes, I know. Okay, so every 20 seconds I'll get a flight report. Practically speaking, 20 seconds is too often. I'll probably switch it every minute, but this is just for demo right now.
Flight pack, no data.
Just a minute. I selected the wrong thing.
Flight pack, no data.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. We're going to inhibit this because this is for the flight pack voltage, and it assumes it's a LiPo.
Flight pack, no data.
And you can't change it off a LiPo, so interesting. Okay, I didn't know that about this thing.
RPM, no data.
Okay. So that's something I didn't realize. On the voltage, it assumes it has to be a LiPo voltage, and well, I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to go ahead and change it to volts, and the closest thing to volts here is a 2S battery, so I'm going to make it 2S, and I'm going to set the voice alarm and set the voltage to 5 volts, and then still give it a status report.
Flight pack, no data.
Okay, yes ma'am, I hear you.
Flight pack.
So
no
now
data.
I have it set to volts, and with a voice alarm and a 5 volts, and the 1S pack is
Flight
fine.
pack, no data.
It doesn't really care that it's a LiPo or whatever. And then the second one is going to, instead of being empty, it's going to be temperature. Right there, it's going to say
Flight
temperature.
pack, no data.
Yes, dear, it's every 15 seconds, I know. And I'm not going to give any status report on the temperature. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the transmitter off while I get everything else set back up over here. Okay. I'm going to plug my Y connector back in. So my Y connector has my temperature lead and my voltage lead, and I'm going to unplug the voltage from the off switch and plug my sensor for the voltage in. And then I'm going to plug my voltage from the on side of the switch into that sensor, and we'll see what it says. Okay, and then I want to plug my servo back in. That's the throttle channel. Okay, so I got the telemetry module is in the bind data port. I got the servo in the throttle channel, and I've got the on side of the switch plugged through the sensor into the gear channel. Okay, so next I'm going to turn on the transmitter first, which is the normal way of doing things. Let it come up. Okay, and then I'm going to turn on the receiver. And everything.
Light pack, no data.
And what you hear humming in the background is the servo. Servo is working fine.
Light pack, 6.1 volts.
Okay, so now you heard it say flight point 6.1 volts. It's finally reading it. Okay. So here is from
6.1 volts.
So that's the main screen. If you scroll over two screens, the first screen is monitor, the next screen is telemetry, and you can see that the volt is 6.1 volts. 6.1 volts, and you can see that the receiver is 6.4 volts. Not sure why the difference, but they are, and the temperature is 77 degrees. And I'm going to grab the temperature sensor and hold it between my fingers.
6.1 volts.
And you can see that the temperature sensor should be going up to read my body temperature. And my fingers must be cold today because it's only 90 degrees.
6.1 volts.
Okay, and I'm going to let that go. And every 15 seconds it's reporting something that I don't really care that much about, so I'm going to change that telemetry.
Light pack, 6.1 volts.
Okay. And I'm going to change that report to say every 60 seconds. That seems more reasonable for a 10-minute flight. Oops. Okay, sorry about it.
6.1 volts.
And okay.
Flight pack 6.1 volts.
And we're done. So we got telemetry working, got a sensor for temperature, sensor for voltage, and all bound together. So that's it for this portion, and stay tuned for the next.